Welcome everybody to another episode of the Dough Doctor. I'm your host and baking expert, Chef Colette. Welcome to the kitchen. And if you're watching on the replay, welcome to you too. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments below. And if you're watching on the replay, you can message me those questions. I'll see them and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, everyone. Again, welcome. Let me know where you're logging on from, and also what are you baking this weekend? Or maybe you're starting your spring cleaning. It's kind of a strange time of year, isn't it? We're sort of coming out of winter, but it's not quite spring. Easter is at the end of the month, Passover, St. Patrick's Day. We've got stuff coming up, but right now it's a little bit of a lull. And I have to tell you, I did not get any questions this week, which makes me think you guys are maybe not baking as much as other times of the year, which makes total sense. You're doing other things. Totally cool. I've been doing a lot of decluttering myself. I went through my pots and pans and I got rid of the pots and pans I don't use. And I took them to the thrift store and my cupboard is now breathing. So I highly recommend decluttering your equipment, your pots and pans, your pantries. This is the time of year to do it so we can, no. This is the time of year to do it so we can sail into our spring baking all set and ready to go. If you have questions, just drop them in the comments below. If you want to ask the question live, we're going to figure that out. I've been doing a ton of tutorials. And for today's demo, I'm going back to our study of ratios. And I'm going to show you how to analyze a simple sugar cookie or tart crust recipe so that you know it's on point. Let me know in the comments. Well, actually, you have already let me know in other episodes, but I'd like to hear it again. When you look for a recipe, do you go to the internet or do you go to your tried and true books? Now, I remember our baker Patty saying she does a little bit of both, but I have to say the internet is just like the siren's call. There's so much information. I know for me, and let me know if you feel like this, it's almost a question of FOMO, fear of missing out. What if, even though I have amazing recipes and formulas in this apartment, in my notebooks, what if there's a better one? So what I want to teach you bakers is just more information on how to analyze those recipes. So let's get going. So, okay, Pistol Packing Mama from Michigan, she wants to make bear claws with chocolate chips with cinnamon sugar filling. It calls for pearl sugar at the end. Never used pearl sugar before. Is it worth purchasing? The answer, yes, it is worth purchasing because especially Pistol Packing Mama, you are one of I think you bake more than I do. And I bake every day. I'm either working on a blog post or testing recipes, but you've got me beat. I know for absolute certainty. So I really believe once you buy it, you'll use it. So everyone, let's talk about pearl sugar. Pearl sugar is a decorative sugar that's opaque, and the granules, I would say if you think about a grain of sugar, pearl sugar is maybe 20 times larger, and it's a classic garnish for a little French delicate pastry called a chouquette, which is basically a cream puff that has pearl sugar before baking. The pâte à choux is egg washed, the pearl sugar is dusted on, and they're really, really beautiful. Pearl sugar is used a lot in Swedish baking, And we all know that in Sweden, I think everybody is born, everybody comes out of the womb with the ability to at least bake a batch of cookies. So it's used a lot in Swedish baking. Sometimes it's called Swedish pearl sugar, and it's also called Belgian pearl sugar. Why, I don't know. I can't think of the exact Belgian pastry that uses pearl sugar, but you know, at least Belgium and Sweden have attached their name to pearl sugar. So yes, I'd buy it and I would try it. I think you will like it as a distinctive and different garnish. It's not 100% mainstream, but it's really, really pretty. And I would bet money, Pistol Packing Mama, you are gonna enjoy it. And you can just use it for simple things too when you want a little bit of just that little lily gilding. You know what I mean? Like, you just want that little something something, that little garnish to make your pastries, your cookies, and your breads just pop. I'm a lily gilder, absolutely. Always looking for that little bit extra. I actually worked at a hotel in New England, 5-star hotel, where the chef was very austere, and I couldn't garnish any of the breakfast pastries. Couldn't do anything extra. No crumb topping, no streusel, none of that. And I almost had a nervous breakdown because I just wanted to garnish and make things really pretty. That's like my jam. It was a very good experience. It was an exercise in restraint, but once I left that kitchen, bakers, I never looked back. I garnished like a demon. So that's coming full circle. Pearl sugar, sanding sugar, turbinado sugar, beautiful colored crystal sugars. Go for it, bakers. Make your stuff look just great. We already know that it tastes delicious because I have infinite faith in you. I'm not seeing any, I'm not seeing questions, so that's totally cool. We're gonna sail into demo. Now I am going to try something. I've been doing a fair amount of tutorials on Instagram, and I would like to see, and unfortunately I'm not seeing the icon that I need. I've got some slides just to break things up, but unfortunately I'm not seeing that photo icon. So Instagram does switch things up, and even though I have them on deck, let me just see if I can. Nope, that's not going to work. All right, that's okay. More study, more to do. We're just gonna sail into demo. All right, so when we are looking at a basic sugar cookie recipe, and this would be one that you can roll or cut, you can roll and cut out, or you can roll into a log and slice like these, just like these. The ratios, the proportion of flour, of fat, and of sugar. Well, basically, we're looking at 100% flour, 66% fat, and 33% sugar. So it's 3 parts, 2 parts, and 1 part. Now, of course, if we make a cookie with just flour, butter, and sugar, we're gonna end up with shortbread. We like to add a little bit of egg for lightness and just to smooth things out and just act as a really nice binder. And so that, that percentage for a cookie like the ones like these that I just showed you would be about 10%. So just when you're looking at a recipe, if you know these ratios, and I don't expect, I don't expect you to create your own recipes, though if you would like to, that's great. But I want you to be able to analyze, because the last thing I want you guys to do is waste your time. I want you to find that recipe, be able to analyze that recipe, make it, and have it be a success. because the more successful our baking is, the more we bake. That's just fact. That's just baking law. That's just it. All right? So, moving on, I do have the recipe all meased out, and I like to work in small batches. I like to give you small batch recipes. There will be a blog post with all this information that's going to drop on Monday morning, and so you'll have all the information there. And honestly, this is how I break down and create all my recipes. It is a lot of math, but just become more comfortable with it. And that's also why I am very confident in the recipes that I create. This really even just thinking about the math or wrapping our minds even slightly around it makes us better. Oh, by the way, another thing for next week. About a week ago, Friday, I posted a poll about copycat recipes. And the #1 winner was cream-filled oatmeal cookies, kind of like Little Debbie cakes. And I will be posting a DIY recipe to make your own on Wednesday. So watch for that. I wanted to, when I throw a poll at you, and I'm so grateful you guys answer like right away, I want to give you the result. And the result was the oatmeal cream cookie with Pop-Tarts coming in a close second. And if you would like a DIY Pop-Tart recipe, let me know. And then also, what is your favorite Pop-Tart? I vote for strawberry with frosting, but that could be an outlier. Maybe that's old school. You guys let me know if you even remember Pop-Tarts, or maybe you didn't have them. Anyhow, all right, so we're gonna get started. So for test recipes, I always start with 113 grams of butter. That's exactly what a stick of butter weighs. So I have this butter is at the perfect room temperature. And what do I mean by that? It's about 70 degrees. And if you look at it, it's not shiny, right? It's just softened. You know, we can press down on it and it's like, okay, it's pliable, but again, it's not super, super shiny. So that's gonna go in our mixer, all right? And remember, our fat is our 66% in this recipe. Now, when you look at recipes, it's not gonna be 100% those numbers, but it'll be in the ballpark. And that's what's important, is to sort of understand the numbers in the ballpark. Because here's the thing, anybody can put anything on the internet. Recipes aren't regulated. They're not copyrighted anymore. They used to be extremely exclusive. So everybody steals, everybody copycats, everybody makes up their own things. And that's okay, that's just the way it is now. But we need a little bit of extra knowledge to know that we're in the right direction. All right, butter's in the mixer, and I'm gonna go ahead and add the sugar. And the sugar is 33% today. It can go up a little higher, and it could be any kind of sugar. I could change the flavor profile of this cookie by using brown sugar. They'd have some caramel undertones. They would be really, really good. So again, we're in the ballpark of that 3 parts flour, 2 parts fat, 1 part sugar. Now this is just a vanilla butter cookie. In fact, I could roll this dough out and make it into little tart shells, no problem. So it's really, really versatile. And if you look at a recipe for pâte sucrée, otherwise known as sugar dough, which usually is the basis for like lovely fruit tarts, chocolate ganache tarts, all of that, you'll find if you ran the numbers, this ratio would be right there, 3 to 1. Okay, so I want to show you how to change the flavor profile. I flashed the vanilla ones, and now I'm going to show you, I'm going to make these lemon poppy seed. So I have in my microplane, I've already zested half of a lemon, and I'm gonna add just a little lemon extract. So, do you guys know about lemon extract? And I almost make that sound ominous, but the thing about lemon extract is it's very, very strong. In fact, most extracts beyond vanilla are. So I'm only gonna add about 1/4 teaspoon. I'm gonna actually use the cap and just a little bit, just literally 1/4 teaspoon. Now I'm not gonna add any vanilla because with the exception of orange, citrus and vanilla fight, all right? But orange and vanilla, just think back to creamsicles, how good they, oh my God, that was just the best. The orange and vanilla ice cream, that's the one citrus, and maybe because it's so mellow, it does not fight. They don't fight, they get along. Okay, now we are gonna add a little bit of egg, and I'm gonna grab the egg out of the refrigerator. Do you know, put it in the comments, or if you want to join the live and just tell me, that's okay too. Let me know, do you know how to measure out parts of an egg? And if you don't, would you like to see a demo on that? Because I can do that quickly. All right. Now remember, when we make cookies, I'm going to use creaming method. When we make cookies, we don't want to cream too long because if we do, we'll whip in too much air and they're gonna spread. So I'm gonna grab my paddle attachment. I've been working on the kitchen. I have it organized. I've been doing a lot of videos and I can just reach everything. It's just so cool. Now the softer our butter is, oh, BTW, if your butter is super soft and shiny, what you wanna do is start with fresh butter and use that butter for cooking. It's totally fine for cooking. But what we need to happen is we need these sugar crystals to cut air pockets into the butter. Now this is a cookie and I don't want these to spread, so we're gonna only mix the butter and sugar about 2 minutes, but we do have to watch over softening, all right? Just kind of watch that. And if you really wanna be precise, you can get yourself a laser thermometer and take a temperature of your butter, and you're looking for about 70 degrees. Okay? All right, so we've got the butter, we've got the sugar, we're going for a lemon poppy seed profile. So I have added the lemon zest and a little lemon extract now because that carries flavor. And as the sugar is cutting air pockets, the oil from the lemon zest is permeating into the butter and sugar, so these cookies will have more flavor. And that's why I add, when you see me work with vanilla, and lots of students that are already on the live, you know that it just makes your stuff better. You know, and as I always say, you don't have to reveal your secrets. You know, oh, these chocolate chip cookies are so good. Thank you. That's totally fine. Unless you want to tell me. So, when we are working small batch, and I know I write a lot of recipes this way, again, because I want you to learn the technique, practice the technique, make sure you like the item before you're wasting a lot of ingredients, because ingredients are expensive. Plus, we also have our time investment, our setup, and our cleanup, all those things. All right, let me get the egg. All right, so let me see in the comments. Okay, yes, great. JG, you've got it. know about over creaming and under creaming? For cakes, for muffins, anytime we're using creaming method as part of the leavening or rising process, we want to go to light and fluffy. But when we're making cookies, which are clearly not baked in any kind of a supporting pan, like a muffin pan, a cupcake pan, or a cake pan, they're just alone and vulnerable on the baking sheet. There's nothing that's going to hold them together. So when we're for creaming method for cookies, and I don't want to get the light reflection, you can see that it's retaining that the bright yellow color. It hasn't quite lightened in color. And it's turning light because of the air pockets that are created in basically the wall of fat that is the butter. As those air pockets get bigger and bigger, light reflects on them, and that is why our butter lightens. All right, you know what? I'm not going to reach behind. I'm keeping that sucker right there. Okay, so we are going to, it's about 17, I said 10%. My 100% of flour for this test is 170 grams. So I'm going to grab my scale, which is just never far away. And I just bought myself a new OXO scale. I love this scale. And I love it because you can pull the LED screen out. So if you want to weigh a big bowl, you can do it. I just couldn't. So what did I say? 17, 10%. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and add this because it's such a small amount. But when you're working small batch, you have to scrape down often. It's just the way it is. Even, I don't have one of those scraping batters, but beaters. Batters. Crazy. And while that's mixing, I'm going to go ahead and add my poppy seeds to my flour. I've already sifted my flour, so I'm going to whisk in the poppy seeds to distribute them evenly. You know, sifting is important. I don't know, God, was it 2005 that we went off the rails with sifting? I feel like it was at the turn of this century where nobody could be bothered with extra steps. But you do want to, one thing that sifting does for cookies and cakes and muffins is the flour is aerated, so things mix better. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit less dense. Now I got lucky here, you guys. I pulled the egg out of the refrigerator, and I could have, if the egg had decided, because it was really cold, this could have curdled a little bit, but it didn't. It all came together really nicely. If your batters, if your temperatures are off, like milk is cold, eggs are cold, and your batter curdles a little bit, it will naturally sort of readjust when you add the flour. There are like super experts who feel that compromises the texture of our finished goods, so we do want to avoid it. But it is not a reason to stop or throw ingredients out. You just keep going, all right? Just go on to the next step. I was testing a vegan vanilla cake yesterday, and I had the batter. Everything was the right temperature, but the vegan butter, which has a mind of its own, not to throw shade, but it does, it curdled on me. and it came back together. Everything was fine. The cake had a gorgeous texture, but good thing I knew, keep going, keep going, keep going. All right, I'm just whisking in my poppy seeds. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and dump it all in. And I'm just gonna mix on low speed until the dough comes together. And I'm gonna get set up to show you how to measure part of an egg. Well, that's not quite low, it's kind of like a medium low. Okay, so I still have a little bit of flour on the side of the bowl, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to grab my spatula and I'm going to scrape down, and I'm going to finish the mix by hand. We can overmix cookies, and when we overmix cookies, just like when we overmix any batter, we can get little tunnels, and that's not what we want. Now you'll notice, again, I'm making a rolled cookie. I'm not doing a drop cookie. The amount of egg percentage will always be more in a drop cookie, like a chocolate chip. So we can see that this comes together. See, you can squeeze it in your hand, but it certainly doesn't look like chocolate chip cookie batter. It's a little bit denser. This is why we can roll them out, or I'm just going to dump this onto my parchment paper. I'm going to show you how to do a really nice roll. So basically, slice and bake, just like the Nestle Toll House in the refrigerated section. Actually, I'm going to lose the parchment paper, and I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to take the heel of my hand. This is actually a French technique called fraisage. We love those French techniques. And all it does is kind of get your dough into a cohesive mass. And we use the heel of our hand because this is the coolest part of our hand. Even if you have hot hands, you can always use the heel because it's not hot. All right, hold on. Let me give this table a wipe down. And then I'm going to show you how to do a really nice cookie roll. These rolls of dough will keep in your freezer. They'll keep in your fridge for 5 days, and they'll freeze for up to a month, which is great if you have events or bake sales or the kids. Sometimes kids don't tell you that they need cookies for the next day. If you've ever had that experience, put it in the chat. And so it's great. Can you imagine? You have something like this in the freezer. Bake, garnish, box, go. You won't have missed a beat. All right, so I just kind of pressed this into a log, and I am right under the halfway mark of the paper. And I'm going to bring this up and over. And I'm going to do this toward you guys so you can see, all right? So because if I was halfway perfectly, the paper would be even. But because I'm just, well, it doesn't really matter that much. It's really okay. It adjusts, okay? So I've got my log started here, and I'm going to take a ruler. And I have warbled on for 2 years about how cool and helpful a yardstick cut in half is in your baker's pantry. So I'm sure you already have one. And I'm inserting let me do it from the side so you can see. I'm inserting the ruler in between the paper and the side of the dough, and I'm pulling up on the bottom piece of paper. All right, and then let's see how we're doing. Well, I'm not happy with my ends, so I'm just gonna finesse them a little bit. And then I'm gonna do one more. Try not to, when you do this, all right, and it's a great technique. If you have a thinner ruler, that will work, but I love these because it's a perfect 1/4 inch guide for rolling out dough. Try not to catch the dough. And press from the center so it's even. You can finesse it. Look at that. Doesn't that look great? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just roll and then fold my ends in like a Christmas cracker. And if you're pressed for time, like maybe your child had said, hey mom, I need cookies for tomorrow, you can freeze for 10 timed minutes and then move to the refrigerator for a ½ hour and you'll be ready to slice them and bake them. All right. So then, let's bring these forward and then I will show you the egg in just a moment. But I just wanted to show you this finish. Now, I used up all my sanding sugar and I have to replace it. But Pistol Packing Mama, you could do this with pearl sugar and it would look so sexy. It would look so cool on your cookie dough. All I did was once the log was chilled, I brushed it with water and then I just rolled it in granulated sugar, and even just plain old granulated sugar, I got this lovely little finish and crust on the edge. With the lemon poppy seed, I decided that I'm thinking of maybe doing a lemon zest sugar mix and rolling the log in that. We'll see. I'm a little afraid the lemon zest might burn. Or I might drizzle them with a flat icing, and that could be the garnish, the lily gilding for them. Anyway, I just wanted to show you up close and personal what those look like. All right? And so a great question. How do you figure out how much flour you will need in doing a recipe? Well, great question. So what I did was, if I'm going 3, 2, 1, then I actually figured out, and I wanted to use well, let me backtrack because I don't want to make it sound, I could go down a rabbit hole of making this sound really difficult. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a choice. You're going to say, I'm going to use 200 grams of flour. And so what's going to happen is you are going to find once you have your 100%, it's easy to find the 66 and the 33. You could just open the calculator on your phone, 200 times 66%, and then you're going to get your fat amount. 200 times 33%, and you'll get your sugar amount. So it's just for, in the beginning, you decide. 200 grams of flour is going to be a perfect small batch. This recipe, which made 14 cookies, was 170 grams of flour. So once you have your 100%, then you can find your other percentages off of that. So your egg, and that's my perfect segue into how to measure parts of an egg. So if we're making a dough like the lemon poppy seed and the vanilla sugar cookie dough that we made this morning, we're going to do 10%. So if you're using 200 grams of flour, then you're going to use 20 grams of egg. All right? And it just really gives you so much freedom if you want to create create your own recipes, or most importantly, I feel in teaching you guys this every other Saturday is talking about how to analyze recipes, since there's so much out there. All right, hold on. So when I need to measure parts of an egg, all right, here's our egg, bakers. We have our egg white, we have our egg yolk. If I just tried to weigh out, poured off some of this, it wouldn't be even. So what we're gonna do, get rid of that shell. We're gonna whip this up, all right? Now I like to use a relatively tall container, and because I don't want to, I'm using a silicone whisk. I just got it, it's pink, I love it, it's so pretty. Because I don't want to scratch up the glass. Now you could use a little stick blender or your cappuccino frother, that'll work. But this egg needs to be really well combined. It cannot be snotty. And what do I mean by that? There can't be any dripping strands of egg yolk. And by the way, this is the same way that you would make an egg wash. Except we know for our 5-star egg wash, we would add a pinch of salt. But not for this. This is just, we're doing a recipe. So let's say you've got your 200 grams of flour. What would that be? Oh my God, my brain. 132 grams of butter, 30 and 67. Oh my God, a synapse fired. That's amazing. 67 approximately grams of sugar. So we need our 20 grams of egg. Doesn't have to, it just has to be combined. So we're going to grab our scale, okay? And I'm going to put this so you can see it. I'm going to zero this out. Okay? And we're going to weigh out, actually, I can't see it, but I'll turn it around. And then you're just going to pour the egg until you get the amount that you need. You can be 1 to 2 grams off and be okay, but please be as close as you can. So there it is. So that's how you measure parts of an egg. As we get more and more away from volume measurements, which is the reason I tested that gluten-free cake yesterday, it was for Craftsy. I actually answer questions in the background for the Craftsy platform. And there was a question about one of the formulas from another chef, one of the recipes, and I had to test it because I knew she was correct. I just had to, but the recipe was by volume, and I knew I had to convert it to weight, and I knew that was the issue, and it was. So as we move more and more toward this, as we're just becoming more aware, and we're going to come into this, we're going to come across this, where you're going to be weighing parts of an egg. And that is how you do it. All right? Great. Everyone, I cannot thank you enough for joining me on the live today. And I hope that this was helpful and that you begin to look at recipes in a slightly different way. Like I said, no need to reinvent the wheel. Plenty of people inventing the wheel out there for us, even though it was invented a long time ago. But at least we can analyze. And if you do feel inspired to create your own recipes, you have a guide around that, at least today for cookies. Thank you so much. I'll see you in 2 weeks. That will be March 16th. Anything you want to see demoed, send me a message. Any questions you have, please let me know. And I'm going to figure out how to share slides. I'm going to ask my social media manager. She is a genius. Should have done that yesterday, but I will for next time. You guys, stay safe and enjoy your baking. Bye!